Finally, Germany agrees to send Leopard 2 tanks to fight Russia in Ukraine. Moscow blasted the move as a blatant provocation. The Leopard 2 main battle tank is seen as one of the best tanks in the world, and it's not surprising that Ukraine's President Zelensky has been asking NATO for it. How does this super tank compare to Russian tanks? Is the German Leopard 2 tank likely to change the war in Ukraine? You're watching Military Intelligence, and in this video, we will dive into the conflict and why the Leopard 2 tank could be a game changer. The infamous Leopard 2 tank. What is the Leopard 2, and why does Ukraine want them so badly? The Kampfpanzer Leopard 2 is the third-generation German-manufactured main battle tank. It first came into service in 1979, and since then has seen numerous updates, improving its protection and offensive capabilities. Why the Leopard 2 is such a badass tank? The Leopard 2 is the most popular tank in the Western world. Even the mighty American M1 Abrams has some Leopard 2 DNA in it. It is one of the most widely used tanks in the world, and is by far the most popular tank in NATO's inventory. The Leopard 2 was originally designed to replace the M48 Patton main battle tanks and replace its predecessor, the Leopard 1, which was already in service with the German armed forces. West Germany's first post-war tank, the Leopard 1, was effective, but sacrificed armor protection for mobility, leading to questions about survivability. Leopard 2 was an attempt to produce a more balanced tank, so that was mobile, heavily armored, and equipped with a larger, more powerful gun. The Leopard 2 is a 55-ton main battle tank. It's armed with a 120-meter smoothbore gun and two 7.62mm machine guns. It's powered by an MTU MB 873 12-cylinder, water-cooled diesel engine producing 1,500 horsepower. This results in a ratio of 27 horsepower per ton, enough to drive it to a top speed of 45 miles per hour, or 72 kilometers per hour. An insider from the Dutch military told us that they have the ability to increase the power up to 2,000 horsepower in wartime. Over the years, the Leopard 2 has been improved and modernized to stay on top of its game. The most recent and current modifications are the 2A5, 2A6, and 2A7. The latest 2A7B was unveiled in 2016, and it incorporates a modular protection kit, increased mobility, and even more precise deployment of its various weapons. Various iterations of the Leopard 2 continue to be operated by the armed forces of Germany, as well as 13 other European countries and several non-European states around the world, including Canada, Chile, Indonesia, and Singapore. The Leopard 2A6 is protected by composite armor of new generation and has external modular armor. Furthermore, add-on armor, including explosive reactive armor blocks, can be fitted. The interior of the tank is lined with prevent spalling. The 2A6 upgrade includes the addition of the Rheinmetall 120mm L55 smoothbore gun and several other changes. The Leopard 2A6 retains the engine of its predecessor. With its 1,160-liter fuel tank capacity, it has a range of up to 280 miles. In rough terrain, you can cut this range almost in half, because the V12 is thirsty when it's put into work. The 2A7 variant is also fitted with an auxiliary power unit, which powers all systems when the main engine is turned off. How does the Leopard 2 compare to Russian tanks? Russia has billed its T-90M main battle tank as one of the best in the world. T-90M is the newer version of the T-90, which began life in an effort to upgrade the T-72 in the 1980s. Despite its stated advantages in Russian promotion, T-90s have had serious issues in Ukraine. The Russian T-90 is still just an upgraded version of the Russian T-72 tank. The T-90 is way behind the German tank when it comes to targeting, accuracy, and its ever so important sensor that helps the German tank locate and spot the Russian tank first. Russia presents the T-90 as one of its most advanced tanks in service today. Armed with an autoloader service 125mm 2A46M main gun, the T-90 has a firing range of 5 kilometers in its basic form, and is additionally equipped with quad 12.7mm heavy and 7.62mm PTKM coaxial machine guns. The Russians are decades behind the West in electronics, no matter what they say otherwise. The development and modernization of the T-90 has been a significant element of this since the collapse of the Soviet Union, up through the current day, despite the tank's troubled performance in Ukraine. Although the T-90 has not lived up to much of its hype in Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the ever-distant arrival of the T-14 Armata to active services likely means that Russia will have no choice but to maintain its fleet of T-90s and other older tanks for the foreseeable future. Given that the entire T-14 Armata fleet is estimated to be in the low tens and production problems have marred the T-14's rollout, they are unlikely to make any military impact. Hey there, viewer! Are you into military updates? Smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon for more military intelligence. Green light for the delivery of Leopard 2 tanks. Ukraine has repeatedly requested NATO for 300 Leopard 2 tanks. On the 25th of January, Germany confirmed that it would send 14 Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine and allow other countries to send their own Leopard 2s. Other countries likely to send Leopards to the war against Russia include Poland, Spain, Norway, and Finland. The decision by Chancellor Olaf Scholz marks a decisive moment in Western support for Ukraine in its fight against Russian aggression, which entered its 12th month this week and could soon heat up further, as Moscow is expected to launch a new offensive. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius told reporters that the training of Ukraine crews on the tank will begin very soon, and that the Leopards will be arriving in Ukraine in about 2 months. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he was very happy with the promise of tanks from the US, Germany, and Britain. But speaking frankly, the number of tanks and the delivery time to Ukraine is crucial, he said, in an interview with Sky News. Andriy Yermak, the head of Zelensky's office, welcomed the German announcement as a first step. Leopards are very much needed, he said on Telegram. Zelensky himself also welcomed the move on Twitter. Sincerely grateful to the Chancellor and all of our friends in Germany, he said. Russia's ambassador to Germany, Sengenitsa, said in a statement the decision was extremely dangerous and took the conflict to a new level of confrontation. The news of an imminent announcement of US President Joe Biden to send a significant number of American M1 Abrams tanks to Ukraine facilitated the Chancellor's decision. Scholz had come under huge pressure from European partners like Poland, as well as his own coalition partners in government, to no longer block the delivery of the German tank. Since they are German-made, their re-export needed the approval of the German government. Why did it take so long? The process was messy, but the German decision to provide Ukraine with Leopard tanks is a big deal. It opens the way to strengthening Ukraine's power to hold off the Russians and liberate more of its territory. Speed of delivery of armored vehicles to Ukraine is crucial, but this is no mere gesture. Leopard tanks and Marder infantry fighting vehicles from Germany, Leopards from Poland and other companies, Bradleys, Strykers, and eventually Abrams tanks from the United States, and Challenger 2 tanks from the United Kingdom emphasize that the Western world is serious about helping Ukraine defend itself. The German yes on tanks put Berlin's agonizing decision-making in perspective. Skeptics say that Germans were holding back to not further antagonize the Kremlin, as Germany is still very much dependent on Russian gas and crude oil. Germany has already supplied a large amount of military equipment to Ukraine, including armored vehicles, but it has also been wrestling with its post-Second World War tradition of anti-militarianism. The supply of main battle tanks has been seen as problematic because of their much more offensive capabilities. Germany has tried to tie the supply of Leopards to a wider coalition that would supply other tanks, including the US M1 Abrams, a tank viewed by experts as being less suitable for the war in Ukraine. Washington's reported promise on the 24th of February to deliver a significant number of its own Abrams tanks appeared to have broken the deadlock. Germany's decision at last to permit other European states to send Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine and to send its own Leopards as well is a significant step forward in Western support for Ukraine. The timing is important, as Moscow's month-long offensive in the Donbas near Bakhmut and Soledar has made minor gains in recent days, and Moscow has begun small offensive operations in the Zaporizhzhia region. The tanks will help Ukraine defend its position with fewer casualties in both locations. They will also prove invaluable if Moscow launches a major offensive from Belarus or somewhere else this year, something that Ukraine's intelligence services expected. If the tanks reach Ukraine in the next few months, which cannot be taken for granted, they could also be deployed by Ukraine in its own planning for a new counteroffensive. On the flat terrain in Ukraine's east and south, they could spearhead the counteroffensive. The delay in sending tanks to Ukraine is part of the pattern of undue US and German caution in arming Ukraine, a well-conducted influence operation by Moscow to suggest that any Western provision of sophistication arms could prompt Putin to escalate with nuclear war that's kept the West from moving with dispatch to provide Ukraine with the arms necessary to defeat Putin's army. And despite this welcome decision on tanks, this caution is still a factor. The US decision to send the Abrams tanks to the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative means that delivery will be many months in the future, not in time for Ukrainian offensive this year. Tanks are imported to increase the capability of Ukraine's military, but experts state that Ukraine needs more than just main battle tanks. To stop Moscow's current operation in the Donbas and Zaporizhzhia, Ukraine needs long-range artillery and missiles with a range of up to 300 kilometers. Ukraine's current reach of 85 kilometers behind enemy lines has prompted Moscow to set up logistical centers 100 kilometers from the front lines. If the West is going to supply Ukraine with long-range weaponry, Russia would have to move its supply depots much further back, which would complicate and delay resupplies. Even more than tanks, these long-range weapons could enable a fast and successful counteroffensive. But earlier last week, the Biden administration repeated that there were no plans to meet these Ukrainian requests. Nevertheless, Berlin's decision on the Leopard 2 is a major step in a new policy toward Russia. That policy starts with support for Ukraine on the battlefield and realism about Russia as an adversary that needs to be contained and weakened to protect NATO's interests. Germany states that a better relationship with a better Russia is possible, but to get there, the West needs to tame the aggressive Russia it now faces. What are your thoughts about this move? Is the Leopard 2 going to be a game changer in the Ukraine war? Do let us know in comments and subscribe to our channel for more military intelligence.